Sonny felt something waking up inside of him. With a startled cry, he clutched his chest and stared into the darkness, trying to understand what was happening. The feeling was not painful or unpleasant, yet it was like nothing he had ever experienced. It was as though his soul was being shaken awake, infused with strange new energy. However, that energy did not come from some outside source. Rather, it was coming from within, as though it had always been there, sleeping. The energy filled every fiber of his being. Sonny felt his emotions becoming clearer and sharper. Then, his body began to change too. He felt as though a miniature star was burning in the center of his chest. Waves of heat were radiating from it, slowly reaching his stomach and shoulders, then his arms and legs, then his hands and feet. Under the heat, his bones, muscles, organs, and blood vessels were being rebuilt and revitalized. He felt his muscles burn and tingle as they grew. His lungs took a deep, sharp breath of air. His eyesight sharpened. Sonny felt like he was being reborn. He was becoming stronger, faster, healthier. It was euphoric. With each second, his transformation was becoming more profound. New confidence settled in Sonny's heart. He was not a weak, frail street kid anymore. He was not as vulnerable against anyone who would wish to bully him as he was in the past. With his powers awakened, and his will tempered by the horrors of the first nightmare, he was now someone you would not want to cross. After some time had passed, the star burning in his chest finally cooled down. The heat was replaced with a soothing coldness. That coldness washed over Sonny's body, taking away all the aches and discomforts that had accumulated there over the years. His new, large muscles relaxed, and it was as if his body was dipped into a vat of balm. The wave of relaxation moved up, reaching his brain, and finally, his eyes. His vision strangely doubled. He could still see the void populated by an endless pattern of stars, but he could also see something different. A silent, calm, dark sea, illuminated by a lonely black sun. From his previous knowledge, Sonny knew that this was his so-called Sea of Soul, but he also knew that it was supposed to look quite different. For starters, it was supposed to be much more lively. The star above Sonny was a visual representation of his soul core. The soul core was a manifestation of a dreamer's soul, and it held a special energy called soul essence. Individuals had their own natural soul essence, but a soul core could also trap and absorb soul essence they accumulate during a nightmare. Based on all he'd ever heard, Sonny expected his soul core to be burning bright, filling the soul sea with a warm, blinding light. However, Sonny's soul was dark and lightless. Sonny frowned. That's strange. He took a look at the black sun. At a closer examination, the orb wasn't dark at all. Quite the opposite. It was transparent. It's just that with no other major source of light around, the star appeared to be as dark as its surroundings. Also, no one was supposed to be here except for him. It was his soul, after all. But Sonny had a nagging feeling that somewhere, just beyond the periphery of his vision, hidden in the darkness, shapeless forms were constantly moving. No matter how he turned his head, he couldn't catch a clear glimpse of them, and yet the feeling would not go away. Sonny wasn't sure if he was paranoid, imagining these intruders, but regardless of the validity of his suspicions, he wasn't getting anywhere focusing on them. Part of him hoped he'd forget all about that nagging feeling if he forced himself to move on. Sonny turned back to the black sun and finally spotted two spheres of light orbiting around it, as though caught in the soul core's gravity well. A subtle smile appeared on his face. He somehow innately recognized these orbs. They were his memories. Silver bell, puppeteer's shroud. Over time, he hoped to acquire dozens of such spheres to store in the sea of souls. If he was lucky, he would even acquire an echo or two. Echoes operated in much the same way as memories, only rather than summonable tools, they were magical creatures forged from the soul essence of slain nightmare creatures. Dreamers who had echoes could call forth these companions to aid them in the trials. The spell's voice suddenly pulled Sonny out of the sea of soul. Awakening aspect ability. Sonny took a dead breath and thought, this is it, the moment of truth. Divine aspect or not, his immediate future still depended on the first aspect ability he would receive. His role in the dream realm would be based on its characteristics. If it was a combat ability, he would be most useful on the front lines of the bloody battles against the nightmare creatures. If it was tied to sorcery, he would likely become a powerful but fragile ranged fighter. If it was something having to do with utility, he would be a vitally important part of the behind-the-scenes workings of the dream realm. Utility abilities were also extremely valued in the real world, where Awakened performed many tasks that kept it going. If he was lucky, he could even become a healer. Healers were very rare, and as such, sought-after specialists. The nightmare spell rang out once more. Aspect ability acquired. Aspect ability name. Shadow control. Sonny squinted. What did shadow control mean? Was that combat or sorcery? He'd not heard of this aspect before, and he was dying to learn what his fate might be. Was he going to be a frontline warrior or a cunning strategist? Sonny hurriedly summoned the runes. He wanted to go to the description of his new ability right away, but ultimately decided to give his overall information a look first. His eyes flit over the runes, which mostly reinforced what he'd already known. Name, Sunless. True name, Lost from Light. Rank, Dreamer. Shadow Core, Dormant. Shadow Fragments, 12 out of 1,000. Sonny tilted his head to the side. What? That's not right. Is it? Where the rank of his soul core was supposed to be written, a mysterious Shadow Core appeared instead. Sonny looked at it, blinking. He had never heard of anyone having a different kind of core before. Was he that unique? This enigmatic Shadow Core would certainly explain why his sea of soul looked so strange. And also, he moved his eyes down, noticing the shadow fragments counter. Usually, there was supposed to be an indicator of the number of soul shards consumed. However, it was nowhere to be seen. Soul shards were the pieces of broken soul cores that could be collected. Sonny's best guess was that shadow fragments were the equivalent of this, with respect to his mysterious shadow core. Sonny shook his head. Do I actually have a completely different progression path than all the Awakened? The idea was as exciting as it was frightening. Not having to fight for resources with anybody else was an incredible advantage. Most of the human society in the dream realm was built around the acquisition of soul shards. If he had no need to gather them to evolve, not only would he be able to become more powerful with incredible speed, he would also be completely self-sufficient. On the other hand, he had no idea how to acquire these shadow fragments. However, he had gotten 12 of them somehow already. So whatever it was that he had to do, he had already done it in the first nightmare. He figured if he retraced his steps closely, he could learn the answer. Sonny's resolve hardened. I'll have to explore this carefully. Satisfied with this decision, Sonny went back to reading the rest of his profile. Memories, Silver Bell and Puppeteer's Shroud. Echoes, none. Attributes, Fated, Mark of Divinity, and Child of Shadows. Aspect, shadow slave. Aspect rank, divine. Aspect abilities, shadow control. Sunny held his breath in anticipation. He remembered the way the shadow tendrils in the temple rose up and attacked the Mountain King. They had incredible strength and were able to rip the massive monster limb from limb. Sunny hoped that his shadow control ability would grant him that skill. He read the aspect ability description. Your shadow is more independent than most. It is an invaluable helper. He cocked his head to the side, disappointed. What is that supposed to mean? Before he could mull that question too long, the nightmare spell spoke up.
All power has a price. You have received a flaw.
Sunny scoffed. Oh, come on. Like the risk of being enslaved isn't enough of a drawback already. A new set of runes appeared on his profile. Sunny read the runes, and his eyes widened in horror. Oh, no! No, 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 no!
Hey, amazing viewers. It's Sunny here. Thanks for sticking with us. By the time of the release of this video, only 8% of our viewers have joined the party by subscribing, and 92% of you might miss out on our next mind-blowing video. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join the exclusive club.